Hello everyone, so welcome to today's video. We are trying some new Flower Beauty releases that just recently came out. A few things that kind of caught my eye and my curiosity, and then of course once I'm on the website I start drifting into other categories and picking up a few things. But mostly everything that I'm trying from Flower Beauty is new that recently came out within the last few weeks to the last month or so. And I'm excited to try these products because we're trying out their new foundation, their new face primer, which is a very different consistency than anything I've ever used before, their new lipsticks, brow products, and then I'm kind of plugging in a few other things that I have used for my collection that I don't have from Flower to sort of finish the look off. And so this is the look that I created. We're trying their new eyeshadows as well and their new quads. So we're going to be playing with some new makeup. Hopefully you'll find this helpful. Let me know what you think of the look of the products. If you have any recommendations from Flower that you like, please let me know in the comment section. If you want to see this entire look start to finish, then just keep watching. Alright, so we're going to start with the priming whip. This is the Supernova Celestial Whip, and this kind of looks almost like hair mousse, so I thought why not give it a go. I've never used anything like this before in my collection, and I like the size of it. It is 1.9 ounces, and I have not even tried this at all. So we're going to kind of do this on camera together and see. Whoa. It does come out like a mousse. Look at that. And this feels very strange. And there's not much of a scent either. I think I have way too much on. They do have something kind of similar to this, but in a dropper form. I think it's more of like a glowy serum kind of thing, which I've known about for some time. I got an email when that came out, but I never really ordered it and tried it. But this, on the other hand, did pique my curiosity. And it's blending in and feeling just like a regular primer, kind of creamy feeling. Feels quite hydrating. Take this under the eyes as well, and I just use my fingers to blend it. I mean, I think that's part of the experience of that kind of moussey texture, but there is so much left over. I'm not quite sure if I'm really going to need all of what's on my hands. A little bit of a glow, but it's very, very minimal, which I like because I didn't want to have like chunky glitter, lots of shimmer that you can actually see. It blended in quite nicely. So for foundation, I'm going to use the new Get Real Serum Foundation, and I have not tried any foundations from Flower Beauty. This is a new launch that came out within the last few weeks, and I chose the shade Porcelain L1. Not quite sure if it's my exact match. It doesn't have any descriptions of the undertones, like fair with cool, fair with warm, or neutral. I like a neutral undertone. Not sure if this is going to work, but we're going to give it a go. I have my damp beauty sponge ready to go. It's brand new, so anytime now. Okay. Oh, I hear something. Okay. So I'm going to just kind of dot this around and hope that it matches. If it doesn't, it's too light. I feel like I can always add bronzer to it. But I'm going to start with basically one pump of whatever came out, and I'm just going to kind of bounce this around. And I tried this one instead of the other Light Illusion foundation because I've never really had a serum foundation. I've always wanted to try one, and I thought, why not try this one? It's affordable. Supposed to have skincare benefits added, so that's always a bonus, and I think a plus for me personally. So that's one pump with my beauty sponge, and it's very light coverage. So I am going to go add more to the areas that I need extra coverage, which is here, my chin, and in this area here. And then whatever's left, I'll just kind of dotted on my forehead. They came out with these new color correctors that are CBD infused. haven't used CBD infused makeup products. I have a few skincare products that I recently got that I have yet to try, so I'm kind of curious about this. And I also wanted to find an affordable color corrector, because you guys know I love my Charlotte Tilbury and my Bobbi Brown, but those are quite expensive. So I decided to try this. This was the main thing that sort of piqued my curiosity with the new releases. This color corrector and then the primer were the two that kind of caught my eye and got me sort of looking at what they had online. So I chose the shade Light Peach, and I think they only have 3 colors. So I'm going to use a little bit of this to color correct, and then we're going to go in with a little bit of concealer over the top. So I do like to have a little spatula tool to kind of dig out product out of little pots and stuff, and I feel like that keeps it more hygienic. And so I have it on my ring finger. The texture is a little bit on the thicker side, not as creamy as my Charlotte Tilbury. And definitely a very noticeable peach color. So I'm gonna, with the warmth of my finger, kind of warm this up and blend this in. I may go in with my beauty sponge over the top, but I like to get right in this inner corner here and then this outer corner as well. So I'm going to take the pointed side of my sponge and kind of blend this in, just to make sure it's blended before I go in with some concealer over the top. Alright, so that is blended in, and I do feel like it did a little bit of something, but not quite as color correcting as I had hoped. Maybe I didn't use enough, but that's okay because I'm going to go in with some concealer over the top. And I usually don't do a lot of heavy color corrector under my eyes and then concealer, because it's just more product and more layering. So I think a little bit goes a long way. And I have an eyelash. So I'm going to use the Flower Beauty. This is the Light Illusion Full Coverage Concealer. I've had this for some time, and this is in the shade L1-2 Fair. And I'm going to just go right under here. I feel like there's not much left in this tube. And then again, with my beauty sponge, blend this out. And then I'm taking that same concealer over these little areas here where I need a little bit more coverage than what the foundation provided, because that foundation, I would say it's maybe just medium, and it could just be the fact that I'm using a damp sponge and that tends to absorb some excess product. So I will have to try it again. And maybe what I should have done is just a half and half with the sponge and then a brush. Maybe I'll do that for the next time we test out foundation. But the concealer does have quite a bit of coverage, and I do like this, and I've talked about this before, and I enjoy that. So I don't have a setting powder from Flower Beauty. I decided not to order that type of product from them. So I'm going to set my under eye and this little area here, and then I'm also going to prime my lids for eyeshadow, and then I'll be back because we're moving on to brows. Alright, so we're moving on to brows. They came out with a new brow product, and this also kind of piqued my curiosity when I saw it under the new releases. And the actual applicator is your standard, very small, skinny, pinpoint kind of brow pencil that I'm sure you've seen or even used. But for me, what makes this a little different is the actual spoolie end. It's almost like a little mini toothbrush, and I will show you. It's very different, and I have never used anything quite like this. I think Fenty Beauty has a brow pencil that's very similar. I don't know if they're kind of inspired by that. I don't know if Fenty was the first one that came out with something like that, but usually brow pencils will have some sort of spoolie on the end, whether it's a thin one, a full spoolie. It's always going to have something to comb through the product. So I'm kind of interested, and I don't know if I already mentioned I ordered Brunette, so I'm going to try this. It's a very, very small, like, point. Do you see that? Super, super small. And ignore my dry hands. I put some oil on my hands, and it's not really helping. So I'm going to just start just applying this as I normally would my brow products. I'm kind of interested to see how this and if it kind of distributes the product and blends it out, or does it lift and remove everything because it's so dense, the bristles on that little brush. So I thought, you know what, that might be worth a try because it's something completely different. Just like that primer, I feel like so far those are the two most unique products to me in my collection because I have yet to try anything like that. Alright, so that applied quite nicely and I like the way that's looking. So let's go in with the little toothbrush and see how this works. Is it doing anything? Yeah, I feel like it softened a little bit, which is a good thing. I do like a more full brow anyways to kind of disguise my sparse brows, because this is better. This is no. But I like the color actually. I think it works really well, and I like that this can kind of soften the very front, and then I'm just very lightly going over the rest of my brow. So I already had to twist up the applicator, so it's a very creamy and soft formula. I feel like you will probably go through this kind of quick. Alright, so I do feel like that applied quite nicely, and I do like the shade. I do think that it's not really, it's dark, but it's not as dark. There's a subtle, I don't know, I'm picking up a subtle hint of warmth from this brunette shade. The applicator is kind of cool. I like how it kind of softened this like inner part here, which is what you want. A little bit of a softer look. I do think that the formula is pretty creamy, so on this brow I had to actually twist up twice to get some of the product so that I can go in and fill and get the shape just right. So that is something to keep in mind if you buy this. It's a creamy formula, you may go through it, but the upside is that it is quite affordable. Instead of spending a high-end price tag for something that you're going to go through so quickly, I don't mind drugstore brow products. I think that they are actually really great. So yay for that. I do like that, and I hope that it actually stays in place and it doesn't kind of fade throughout the day, because that would not be good. I'm going to set my brows with a very inexpensive brow gel, the one from e.l.f. It's $2. Get these kind of laid down a little bit more flat, and then we're going to move on to bronzer and blush. For bronzer, I'm going to use just my Physicians Formula Butter Bronzer. I didn't order one from them. I wanted to just kind of stick with their newer releases to explore more from the brand. So I'm going to stick with an oldie but a goodie. I've talked about this before. This is such a good bronzer. I'm just going to kind of lightly tap so I don't lift too much of that concealer. Okay, so this product is not new for the brand. It's been out for some time, but it is new to me. And it is the Blush Bomb Color Drops for Cheeks. And it comes in a tube packaging like this, very different. I've seen blush in a squeeze tube, but the actual applicator is different. It's clear, and so when you squeeze it, you'll see it come through. And I picked up the shade called Pinched, so I chose one that seemed like it would go with a lot of different looks. So I squeeze it, you'll see it coming through. And I'm just going to put some onto a little makeup palette, but the shade looks to be really pretty, almost like a natural kind of peachy color. So we'll see. And I'm going to use a fluffy brush that's not quite as big as my powder one, but large enough to pick up some of this. And I'm just kind of working it, like I said, from a makeup palette into the brush, and I'm just going to kind of stipple that here. And tread softly, because I learned my lesson with cream blushes. They tend to be quite pigmented. And that's pretty. It's like a soft, light, kind of peach color, but it's not super crazy, and it does have some pigmentation to it. It's showing up. Like I said, I'm using just very minimal amounts and going on the apples of my cheek and kind of blending that in a circular motion. And I was worried that this was going to have a dewy kind of wet look. I wasn't sure if it was going to be like a cream to powder formula, but it doesn't look super wet or glossy. There's no shimmer to it that I can detect. So that's quite nice, and I do like that, and it's pretty. So we'll see. I'm not going to set it. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to continue blending, and then we're going to move on to eyeshadow. So for eyeshadow, they came out with some new quads. Came out with a couple different shades. One that's kind of your everyday cream and brown shade, and then one that's very berry. I think that one's called Berry More. And I decided to kind of go with something kind of in my comfort zone, but not super warm, and not like something that you may expect me to choose, because you guys know I love my warm tones. So I chose a quad that had some really beautiful tones, and I really wanted to try to see if the formula has improved, because the last time I used their eyeshadows was many years ago. I think that when they first released their products in Walmart stores many years ago, and I have yet to revisit and try. So I'm hoping that it's not only a new packaging but also a new formula. And then here's what the packaging looks like. There's a bit of a glare because of the sun, but they have revamped their packaging. It's white and gold, and I have the quad, the Petal Play Shadow Quad in the shade Black Iris. It has some kind of like purpley tones, a nice kind of bronzy shade, like a brown, and then this grayish color that's kind of almost like a purpley gray. So these two will play really nice together, and then obviously these two, you can mix and match whatever you want to do, but I wanted the bronzy tones, and then I thought it would be nice to maybe do a little bit of this in the lower lash line. This one here, the bronzy shade, and yes, my brush is dirty. The last time I used this brush, it was for some like berry colors, and I think it stained I think it stained my brush, like the bristles, so hopefully it doesn't alter the way that looks, because that color looks really pretty. It's like a nice bronze, and I'm going to apply this all over my lid. And that is quite pigmented. That's showing up really nicely. And it is a very soft formula. I don't know if you guys can see already the mark from my brush in there. So that gives you an idea of how creamy they are. So it's almost going on and performing like a cream, which is really nice. And that shade is beautiful. It's got some definite bronze, but it's not super dark, not too much like rich brown that you would typically see in bronze eyeshadow. So I like that. It's a little different, but still within that kind of bronzy family, which you guys know, that's my jam. Taking a crease brush, and I'm going to go around the edges of that and just blend that out. And that right there could just be a simple one shadow look. I mean, that was really nice how it went on and how it looks. Okay, so then I'm going to take that same crease brush and I'm going to go into that brown shade. And that's going to add a little bit of depth, but it's not going to be super, super dark unless you added more and you layered it, because it is looking a little lighter, but it could just be my brush as well. And then I'm going to take a clean brush and try to go around the edges of this, because this one is just a touch difficult to blend. I'm not sure if it's the primer underneath or me or the formula of the actual eyeshadow, but it is a little bit kind of a challenge, I would say, but it's workable. So I'm going to go down to the lower lash line, and then I'll come back and add off camera a color that matches my skin tone to help blend and highlight my brow, because there isn't anything in this palette to do that. So for the lower lash line, I'm going to go in with an angled brush, and I'm going to pick up this purple shade here. add a bit of an interesting element to the look. And then I'm going to blend that with a pencil brush. So I think I'm going to take my pencil brush that I've been using to blend out that plummy shade, and I'm going to go in with that kind of grayish purple and use a little bit of that. This one is matte as well as that brown that I put in the crease. And I'm going to use a little bit of this on the lower lash line. Well, that one's quite pigmented actually. So I'm not going to redip my brush. I'm going to just use whatever's left on there and go underneath. Alright, so I need to do some blending and highlighting my brow bone and inner corner, which there isn't a color in this palette, and I didn't get a highlighter from them either, so I'm going to do that off camera, and obviously my liner and my mascara, because I didn't order those products from Flower. So I'm going to finish the rest of the eyes, and then I will be right back. Alright, so the eyes are complete. I did a little highlighting on my face and inner corner brow bone, and I used the Strobe Light highlighter from Milani in the shade called Afterglow. This was a mini that was a gift with purchase when I placed an order a few weeks back. So I did that, really loving the formula on that. And then for eyeliner, I use the Charlotte Tilbury Rock and Kohl eyeliner in Barbarella Brown, and I also used the push-up lashes, the Pillow Talk push-up lashes. This is kind of like something else that's new that I'm kind of trying out. I do feel like it's gotten a little bit better. My first impression wasn't kind of knocking my socks off, but I feel like this time around, maybe because it's been sitting open for a little bit, it's maybe getting a little bit better. But I do feel like it sort of pulled everything together. That eyeliner, the Barbarella Brown, is quite dark, and it almost looks like a soft black color. I don't really pick up too much of like brown, but it is really pretty, and it went on quite nice. And I just did a very thin line just to add some more depth to the lash line. So now we have to finish the look off with some lip products. I chose a new lipstick, and they came out with a few different shades. They have some berry tones, like a nice bright pink color, and then this one is called Buttercup, and I felt like this was the one that was more, I guess, everyday to me out of the color options that they had, and I wanted something that I can see myself using more often. So this is a little bit of a different packaging than what you may have seen previously from them. I think they still have their older packaging with the white like lipstick bullet and the clear plastic. These have a kind of tinted plastic cap, and I don't know, I just like the look of it. It's kind of rounded on the top, really nice, and the shade is called Buttercup. Ooh, and it's very creamy. It smells good. So there is the lip color. I do like it. I think I like the tone of it. It's very wearable, very everyday, but I also like the fact that it's very creamy. It almost feels like I put on a gloss, but it's in a lipstick form. So it's a very hydrating formula, which I like. I didn't want anything super matte looking, and I do think that the formula is quite nice. I am very, very happy with that, and very impressed with the formula. I like how it just kind of gives that glossy look to the lips without me needing to layer a gloss or a lipstick. So it kind of takes care of both in one. So very comfortable, very, very nice formula. I really like it. Alright, so there you have it. That is the full face, almost, of Flower Beauty products. I have enjoyed trying new products out and doing kind of first impressions and just kind of sharing with you guys my thoughts, and hopefully these videos are helpful. As far as the products from today, I think I am most impressed with the lipstick. I think that's one of my favorite products out of what I've tried, and I do like the brow pencil. I think it's different for me to use like that applicator, the spoolie toothbrush looking thing. It almost reminds me of a very mini like baby artiste makeup brush, so it's kind of different, and I do see myself using that again. I see myself using the blush. This is the Blush Bomb in Pinched. I do like that. Now the eyeshadow is something, I don't know, I'm still on the fence about it. I like the colors, but I do feel like it's lacking a little bit of pigmentation. The matte brown was a little bit difficult to blend, and it's not as in your face pigment as what I'm used to. I mean, I've been using Natasha Denona, I've been using some other even affordable brands like Milani eyeshadows that have a little bit more richness to them and they stand out a lot more than this. It could just be this specific quad, the Black Iris one. Maybe the other ones are more pigmented and more rich, but we'll see how this color lasts throughout the day, if it's going to disappear, if it's going to crease, because that bronzy shade that I have on my lid and the purple on the lower lash line feel very creamy, and just the way it looks in the pan after dipping my brush in there just tells me it's a very emollient formula. So I do like cream formulas, and I think that they perform like a cream. The mattes are just, they're okay. So I think if I were going to kind of steer you in the direction, if you're going to order from Flower, I would say maybe pass on these unless you want to try them yourself. Definitely pick up the lipstick. I love that. These cheek products are really great. The primer is kind of cool and different, so if you want to try something different, then go for it. It's that moussey kind of texture. It feels very bizarre putting it on, but it's different, and it has a bit of a kind of luminous finish, but it's not very detectable. Like, you have to be really close to see it, or swatching it on your hand to see the shimmer that's in it. The foundation is definitely something that I would have to kind of share back with you guys my thoughts after using it, trying different primers underneath, some of my go-to primers, some other new ones that I have recently purchased, to see how this is going to hold up with just my skin in general, and how the condition of my skin the day I use it, because today it's not as bad. I did exfoliate last night, and I did lots of face oil because I knew I wanted to try a foundation, so I was trying to get my skin in the best place possible for today's video. So definitely something to report back. So far, it's got some decent coverage. I would say medium coverage. The ability to choose the shade online is a little lacking there. I think they can improve that, and also improve the quality or the amount of photos. Not the quality of photos, but the amount of photos, swatches, or include some sort of swatches on their social media Instagram page, because I couldn't find any. So I kind of just thought, hey, that seems like it might be a shade that matched. So be on the lookout. I will definitely share, but I do like the packaging, that frosted glass with a pump. Easy to blend, but again, the coverage is more of medium, and it could just be the fact that I used a damp sponge. So I'm going to try it probably tomorrow with a brush and maybe even my fingers to see if I can get a higher level of coverage there, and I will let you guys know in a future video how that ends up turning out. Then for the actual corrector, I do think that it is creasing. I think it's because it's a very thick consistency. Usually concealers or correctors in like pots like this are going to be thicker and richer than something that comes in a tube with a doe foot applicator. So keep that in mind. It's a little bit thicker. I do feel like I could have used a little bit more just to provide more color correcting, I guess, coverage. But then again, I went over it with the concealer, and this concealer is amazing. I love this concealer. It's a really great formula. Great amount of coverage. It even covered my spots pretty well. So I hope that you found this video helpful. If you were curious about some of their newer releases, stay tuned, because I'm going to do this with another brand next week. And hopefully you will find something that you will enjoy or want to try in that video as well. So everything will be listed for you in the description box, as always, with all the shade colors that I use and I'm wearing, so that it's easier for you in case you want to try this and you're kind of similar in skin tone. I will put the concealer and foundation colors down below as well. So thank you so much for joining me for today's video. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned on social media, Instagram, for future videos and upcoming products that I am trying. And have a fabulous day, and I will talk to you very, very soon.